Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon for the latest film interviews, features, and recommendations on the movies that matter. Abhishek Banerjee, so good to see you, Abhishek. I'm saying good to see you, but I feel like you have put a lot of fear into us. Anyone like me who's just finished watching Paatal Lok, I would say, would not be entirely comfortable sharing an elevator with you. Not that one can in these times of lockdown or corona. So it's a good thing, I would imagine.
Thank you so much, sir. First of all, for having me here, and yeah, I take it as a compliment now.
It was meant as one. Abhishek, it's been about a week. It's been about a week that the show has been online. It dropped on Amazon Prime Video. What are some of the responses? What are some of the reactions that you're hearing?
I think everybody is calling and pouring their heart out, and that's the first time I'm like experiencing something like that, where people are not only like calling to congratulate you, but they're pouring their heart out and how they feel so nice after watching this, and I've really had some conversations. It's just not tarifo ka phone. It's not ki good kaam acha kaam, tuna acha kiya hai. It's like then they start talking about the process, the show, the making, the story, the minute details about some of the scenes, and that's what I think we all artists want. We want that conversation, that talk to start once we do something, and yeah, it's special. It's amazing.
You of course play Vishal Tyagi, better known as Hathoda Tyagi. I feel like this is the character we're going to be talking about for a long time. It's one of those parts that sort of stays with you long after you watch the show. He's not a guy who talks a lot. I mean, he barely speaks actually, and yet he has this. He's quietly menacing. I mean, you look at him and it's enough to kind of give you a chilling idea of what this man is about, and it doesn't help that we get those images. We've seen what he's done. I mean, that first scene on the schoolyard is completely rattling. It's how did you prepare? I mean, what did it take to go into his head?
Yeah, it was quite unusual for me. It was quite unusual for me when Sudeep Sharma, thought that I can play that, because you never expect yourself to be that, gruesome. You don't expect yourself to be that menacing. Everybody thinks they're good, they're good human being. And I after Stree, I thought that, people are going to offer me endearing parts. That's how I things coming. And but when he suddenly, surprised me with that idea, I knew this is like, something, it's a big responsibility as an actor to perform something like this, because I'm so far away from the crime world or the Paatal Lok, as we, have seen in the show. So I'm so far away. My dad is a security, he was a government security forces servant. So I have lived with a Hathiram in my life, So I've been so away. For me, it was very important to understand the crime in our society and the criminal mentality and how they are born.
Right.
I mean, what is it that we are doing wrong, that in the very society we live in, there are these gruesome criminals and these murders and these crimes happen on a daily level? And how is it that we have become ignorant, or maybe we have normalized it? I don't think crime stories on newspapers, I think they get less attention than gossip stories. So that's how we are. We have started thinking like that. So I started putting my mind completely into crime. I started updating my knowledge about crime, my knowledge about not criminals. I didn't want to personify any criminal person, but I wanted to personify the idea of crime, and I wanted to make it as gruesome as possible, as gory as possible, so that when people see, they don't see a hero in the criminal. They just see the crime. They just see the skulls opening. They don't see how it is happening. And that was the idea. So for me, it was just that, and it all came from the emptiness, from the rejection Vishal Tyagi has, has got from society, and that angst, and that disbelief, that hopelessness for the humankind.
Right.
That's why he's more connected to the animals. I also thought that he's connected to the plants. So where you see to meet Guruji, the place he was staying. I mean, of course, it's not in the show, but I used to be very, very, I don't know, I felt a connection from the plants, from obviously the animals there. So it was that.
A lot of actors that play villains say that they don't think of them as villains while preparing to play that role. They try to understand why that person does what they do and try to even justify to some degree. And unless you're convinced that he's doing the right thing in a sense, how do you perform those acts? Did you see him as a bad guy? Because of course we know the backstory. We know what happened to his sisters. We know what was the trigger. But did you see him as a? I mean, and yet it's hard to. I mean, it's hard to justify what he did. It's impossible to justify what he did. How did you sort of view him?
See, for me, it's like the I had an example for me. I did Dhavle in Ajji, which was
Yeah.
very
Oh my
which was
God. I mean, I don't even want to. We'll come to that in a minute. Yeah.
yeah. So for me, I remember that time when I got affected by him,
Yeah.
when I started hating my character. I started hating my director, Devashish. I
Mm.
started hating him. I started
Wow.
hating the set. So for me, the energy was all about hating Dhavle, and the more I hated him, the more hateful I could make him. And
Right.
for me, it was completely different for Tyagi because somewhere I started looking at him as hero.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, he is the hero of his life. He was an achiever. He was good in sports. He was getting his medals. He was getting everything. But
Right.
it is the norms or the feudal mentality of our society, which is making him an underachiever.
But
And
yet, having said that, Abhishek, it's also true that when he's introduced, we are told he's Hiranyakashyap, right? So I mean, this is a guy who was possibly born with, the wrong wiring, as they say.
yeah, he was true. I think the backstory. I still remember discussing with Sudeep sir that the first murders or the first kills this guy had, when he must have committed, was by the rats. The
Yeah.
rats, वो जो चूहे होते हैं बड़े बड़े मोटे, उनको पत्थरों से मारता होगा वो. So
Right.
obviously he always had that killer instinct in him, but somewhere he was wrong. And
Right.
I always saw that wrong more than anything else. I actually forget. I I think I forgave him for whatever crimes and murders he did. For me, it
Right.
was like I wanted him to just live in peace because I know a human being like that can't actually have a long life. Right? He
Right.
would die. Whether he kills himself or whether he commits suicide, he will die. But whatever limited period he has, he just needs to live a peaceful life. That's how I was, keeping him away from myself.
I've seen Ajji and I've seen what you've done in that film, and there is a scene in that film with the mannequin.
Yeah.
And that scene, I mean, I don't want to give it away because I would imagine a lot of people haven't watched it. If you haven't watched Ajji, anyone that's watching this interview, it's on Netflix. Watch it. It's very disturbing, not for the faint-hearted, but really an extraordinary film in terms of just what it's saying and what it's doing. So in Ajji, of course, you're the villain, and there's that scene with the mannequin, which kind of gives you a sense of just what this man is about and just what he could have possibly done. I want to ask you, do you sometimes wonder what it is that about yourself, about how you look, about I mean that inspires filmmakers to think of you as Hathoda, Tyagi, and Damle? I mean, do you wonder?
Yeah, I do wonder. I do wonder. In fact, I remember when Devashish told me that he wants to play, like he wants me to play Dhavle, and he said something about my eyes.
Right.
I see a killer in your eyes, or I see something वैशीपन दिखते हैं तेरे आंखों में, And the same thing Sudeep Sharma also said, कि I mean, and in fact I remember going up to Sudeep and saying that can I audition for Ansari, because
Right.
that's the character I thought that maybe I suit better or something. Actors can have wrong notions about themselves.
Correct.
So that's what I went, and he just laughed at me. He just laughed at me, and he's like, have you seen your eyes? तूने अपनी आंखें देखी हैं? And I'm like, yes, and they're very innocent. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with them. But yeah, I mean, thankfully, I think filmmakers see something, and I'm happy about it. I'm actually
Right.
very happy. If they can imagine some other characters which I can't visualize myself, then great.
Is it true that your wife refuses to see Paatal Lok?
Yes, yes. My wife refuses to see Paatal Lok. My mother is angry. She has scolded me on the phone. And my dad one day called me and he's like, yeah, please, yeah. I mean, he's laughing and he's like, yeah, I can't explain it to your mother. Can you please do it for me? And she started like, she's so pissed off with the makers. For her, it's like, ये किसने कराया तुझे? कौन है ये लोग जो तुझे ये सब चीजें कराते हैं?
Oh, lovely. There's been some, I don't know if the controversy is the right word, but there's been some chatter, hasn't there, that why is a
Yeah.
casting director playing such a key role? I mean, casting directors are supposed to find actors to play the parts, but here's a guy who's casting himself. I know that you've spoken about the fact that it wasn't you who cast yourself. You actually
Yeah.
went out seeking the other part, and you auditioned for this role and eventually got it. Do you find that that's not a fair accusation? Because
No,
you've said that you actually are an actor first. I mean, you've said that casting happened by default.
yeah, yeah. Of course, it happened by default, and that is how I've been always telling my stories. Even earlier, even now, I've been always saying that yes, I came here to become an actor, and I started casting as a part-time job, and then it became a full-time job. It became a professional job, and I started enjoying it. I started really having fun with it. And somewhere down the line, that's how. Like somewhere down the line, I got an audition for Stree, and I became an actor, and then I'm doing. I completely get from which mindset I think that these chatterings are coming from. But then I was doing my research, and I saw someone like Goofy Paintal being the casting director of Mahabharata, and he was Shakuni. I
Correct.
mean, come on, like that's the beauty. Don't you think this is the beauty of this industry or any
Right.
creative space, that these creative associations can just take different chairs and different tables whenever they want, and that is what I think that is what special that is what is special about the creative community
Correct.
from theater days. Like when you used to seek one theater director and you want to work with him, you start sweeping the stage, and you start arranging the wings or setting the lights in the first year. Then the second year you start getting one or two lines.
Right.
Then the third, fourth year they start giving you main roles in the theater shows. So that is how I think this whole association and bonding ये तो सबसे हमेशा से चलता है. It will
True.
always happen.
Amar Kaushik, your director of Stree and Bala, was on our roundtable, on a director's roundtable
Yes,
a
yes.
few months ago, and he told us how he cast you in Stree, which really was the first time I think everyone really paid attention to you. I mean, of course, you've had roles in Rang De Basanti and No One Killed Jessica, but I think Stree was the one as Jana where you got really noticed. He said he first auditioned you for the other friend's role, and then when it came to Jana, he said, "Just do it, yeah. Just play a booth. Just do ah." And he literally described it like that. And he said that you did that very well, and that's how you got the role.
Exactly. So it's funny world because some filmmakers they look at me and they're like, yeah, bro, you're menacing. And
Correct.
here we have filmmakers who look at me and like, abhi tera chehra kitna funny hai. So Amar Kaushik is somebody who I think trips on my face. He just finds my face funny.
Right.
And though I really wanted to convince him and told him that I want to play bit two, like let me audition for bit two, but he was like so stubborn on me playing Jana. And somehow again, when I gave the audition and I actually started feeling ki, yes, I don't know why, but I am feeling much closer to Jana. Maybe because of my Bengali roots. There's
Right.
this Bengali boy
Yeah.
in Jana. So yeah, and that's what he did. He actually asked me to like act like a ghost, and that ghost acting gave me the role.
The thing about Tyagi in this show also is that, I mean, he's a guy who's so cruel, and I mean, his acts are so gruesome that it's hard to think of him as someone who has a beating heart, and yet it's a testament to the very fine writing and to that performance that at the end actually you feel bad for him. I mean, there's a you momentarily forget that this is a man who's committed 45 murders and done all of those horrible things. And for that moment, you're only thinking this is a guy who got trapped as part of a larger plan. I mean, he was the target. That was the beauty of, I think, this character also, and the arc. I mean, was that interesting to explore? And how does one make that work? I mean, how does one be a character who's done such horrible things and still, even if it's momentarily, evoke that moment of sort of sympathy?
I think that's the beauty of writing when you really give that much of importance to a character's arc and you flesh it out
Right.
completely, not putting adjectives to the character, but like, trying to get those real core emotions out of the character
Mm.
and trying to tell the world that they're all humans. We all come from the same community.
Right.
Yes, there are circumstances and situations and socio-political issues that really affects a character or a human being in our society.
Yeah.
So that is what I think, as you said, that he went through so much, but that doesn't mean that he's not a human. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have compassion.
What was it like shooting those scenes, where you go about literally hammering people? I mean, the first murders are actually, I mean, they're creepy as hell, because you go after those two boys and then you come back, you ask for the rest of the joke, and then you kill him. I mean, what is it like with all that fake blood? I mean, what was it like to shoot? I mean, are you faint-hearted yourself? Are you someone who's not particularly fond of the sight of blood?
I can't tolerate blood. I just can't tolerate blood, and it's very, very difficult. But and that's what I think the beauty of acting is, that whatever your natural personality traits are, they tend to start changing while you're in front of camera, and
Right.
that's the beauty of it. Like that's the moment when I stop thinking about that it's blood, or it's something like something gory, and I start seeing that as a prop,
Right.
and then it just becomes like it's almost. It, at many levels, I feel that we are frustrated inside. We get frustrations, and we have our own agony and grief, and there's a lot inside. And there's a scene in Metro, if you remember Life in a Metro, where
Yeah.
which Konkona Sen and Irfan sir, they have that let out and they're shouting.
Yeah.
I love that scene because that's one of the few, I think, true emotions which every human being feels, but we always curb it down. And that particular scene, that enacting as a human being, Abhishek Banerjee, to the character, I think that was the relation where I actually let all my frustrations out. So when
Yeah.
I came out of the scene, I was feeling very relieved, very relaxed. And at some point, that angry young common man who has been seeing these reports of female abuse for so many years, you somewhere in your head you feel satisfied that maybe through a scene or a communication, I have venged them. I have taken a revenge,
Right.
and feel lighter. You just
Right.
feel lighter. Remember that day I was light. I called all my friends and I said I had a great day. That's how I respond to my scenes.
Was it a hard character to shake off?
No, because I never approached it through the aggression. I never
Right.
approached it through the rage. I approached it through the emptiness.
Hmm.
And in fact, I am okay with those feelings, or with the whatever understanding I have built in my head about Tyagi. I think it helps me to remain calm. It also helps me to maybe see a different perspective where I start seeing myself, my childhood, and everything, whatever happened in my life, as a privileged life.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm from middle class family. My dad had a government job, and you always have complaints about the life. You always have things to say, कि, अरे ये नहीं मिला, वैसे नहीं हुआ, वो चीजें नहीं हुई. There are too many things to complain. But when you perform a character like that, and when you know him inside out, now you start feeling, oh, has been a great life. We should
Correct.
be thankful to it. So I think Tyagi has made me thankful towards life and people and everything in general.
And how wonderful that the one evidence of his humanity comes from his love for dogs. I mean, that's just such a beautiful touch, and the that's the one of the key twists, so to speak, in the show. Are you an animal person yourself? Are you a dog person yourself?
I'm a big animal lover. I have a cat. Her name is Kiwi, and she is like a member of the family. She's not around. She was fighting with some other street cat in the balcony. So yeah, and I like to communicate with them, and I like to talk to them. Like my cat, I feel that she's a good actor
Right.
because she does few certain things, and I'm like, hey, this is not real. She is faking it, and being an actor, you know
Right.
that this will, or that this entity is acting with you. So it's beautiful, and I always talk to them. I somehow like to talk to dogs, or cats, or whatever. I mean, birds. I actually have like conversations with birds, and I can do that with them.
Right.
And somehow I feel that they understand, even if they don't understand the language, but I think they understand you completely. Otherwise, how do you explain them following rules better than human beings?
True. Actually. Yeah. Yeah. We also must take a moment to acknowledge that you've also done, along with your partner at Casting Bay, Anmol, you've cast the show, and what wonderful actors you've discovered. I have to say, in the smaller parts. I mean, Chini, the character of Chini, and I think it's so amazing that it's such a win for representation that you found a trans actor to play that part. Why was that important, Abhishek? Why was that important to find the right person and to find someone that represents that community?
Because I think we always feel that we take the easy route. Because
Yeah.
I think, as we sometimes we feel कि अरे कहाँ मिलेगा, or how can we don't expect, we think that maybe we won't be able to find somebody, or we sometimes what happens is we go ahead. Like I think every casting director puts their hard work. Like, I think everybody wants to get that right actor for their, project. And
Correct.
that is how you see so many good actors in our films these days. It's all because all the casting directors are really, on their toes.
Yeah.
So, but this particular thing was a challenge because I said, this is something, this exactly, I wanted that win.
Yeah.
This is that win, that satisfaction as a casting director where you know that you have actually brought in somebody which would have been very, very difficult otherwise. To
Correct.
go to Nepal, get her, get Ronaldo, convince her family, and obviously it's not just casting. It's not
Right.
just getting the right actor. The actor is the actor lives in some other state, far, far away from the limelight for everything. So she doesn't know how to cope up with this. The family doesn't know. So our job also is to convince them, to get
Right.
them board and make them trust us. So yeah, I'm very happy that she could perform.
Right. I want to end by asking you a question that I think will help a lot of young actors and a lot of young wannabe actors as well who are constantly auditioning and looking for that one moment that will change their lives. As a casting director, Abhishek, what are you looking for in an audition? What is that moment that makes you go, I think this person could be right for this part? What are you looking for when you're auditioning?
I feel the element of surprise. That's very important. You have a script, you have a story which we are giving you. You build your own story. Now that own story, how you're building it and how you're surprising us with the same lines which is given to you. Because if you give "Mera naam Karan hai," if just
Right.
a simple line, everybody can say "Mera naam Karan hai" in their own unique ways. But the one who actually brings out the true essence of Karan, of the character, that understand the name or also understand the character, I think he will win.
How lovely.
Because
Yeah.
so I think that's how auditions are. Auditions are all about experimenting. They're not about getting selected or rejected. I think auditions are a great place for actors to just experiment, evolve, because nobody is going to judge you for what you're doing, right?
Correct.
If it works, great, you will do a film, but you'll still have to prove it. You still have to
Correct.
go and do in the film and the web show. But here you don't need to prove. You just need to experiment. And sometimes those beautiful experiments turn out to be great characters.
Right.
And you see so many good actors, coming out from them. All these good actors are coming out from those good characters they're doing. So
And you would know, you've discovered actors like Siddhant Chaturvedi,
yes,
also Mohammad Zishan Ayub, I believe Priyanshu Penyuli, who was so wonderful in Bhavesh Joshi and now Extraction. I mean, these are all your finds.
yes, and I love the fact that all of them are great actors, and I remember Priyanshu auditioning him for that one role, one scene and two scenes in Rock On 2,
Yeah.
and I remember looking at his audition, I'm going bonkers, like who is he? How does he? The actor feeling. Suddenly,
Right.
you forget that you're a casting director and you suddenly start relating to another actor as an actor, and you're like, ये कहाँ से आया? ये कौन है? Same with actors like Jaideep Ahlawat. When
Right.
when to come for, I remember auditioning him for No One Once Upon a Time in Mumbai. Gautam Kishan Chintani was the casting director, and that was the first time we met him, and he performed his scene, and we were mind blown. So we already knew that he's a great actor. He didn't need to be in a film for us to know that he's a great actor. He's been
Right.
there for 10 years, 11 years. Now he's getting his due.
Thank you, Abhishek. That was an incredible performance, really terrifying, but very very incredible performance. And can't wait to see what you do next. Both of course as an actor and continuing to discover right actors for right parts. Many congratulations. Stay indoors, stay healthy, and hopefully the next time we'll be chatting, it'll be in person.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking forward to that, and thank you so much for having me
Thank
here.
you.
I told my friends this, that I don't know when Rajesh is going to call me, but when I got a call from you in this morning, I was like,
Right.
yes, my day is
No,
made.
it's
So, so much.
incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's so
Please,
so kind.
please
Thank you.